beautiful.
So we're gonna do scissors, paper, stone to decide who eats what.
Why don't we just share?
Scissors, paper, stone.
It's unfair because they're different sizes. Don't eat your feelings.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to our Mukbang podcast. This podcast is where instead of eating our feelings,
We eat proper food.
Yes.
And then we talk about our feelings.
and then we talk about our feelings. Healthy. Speaking of healthy, this week
Yes.
we're being sponsored and we're blessed to be sponsored by Nobo Acai. So, you know, how I first discovered them was I really wanted to eat acai. And then I was like, all the good acai places are so far away. And then I looked on GrabFood and they are on GrabFood.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and then they're just on GrabFood, but they're moving. So, amazing. They're moving to...
Bedok Marketplace.
What happens is now if you're ordering with them on GrabFood, they will give you this. And with every purchase, you get 1 free cup of acai.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, when you
That's good.
Yeah, when you actually
What?
visit them.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're getting free cups of acai.
The next time we go.
The next time we go. They're opening soon, so follow them on Instagram, show them some love, show them some support. And they're a small business just like us.
Yeah, and honestly, these are so good. Like, I had
It's so
them for the first time last week, and I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Right?
I was just waiting for today so we can finally eat this again.
Yeah, so thank you again for sponsoring acai for us. And yeah, honestly, I just can't wait. It's so good.
Anyways, I just want to say this one has cookie butter gula melaka, which honestly sounds so good.
Sounds good. So let's dig in first. Okay. Let's dig
Which
in.
one do you want? Okay.
It's okay lah.
Let's share it.
Let's share it. Let's
Okay,
share it.
we're sharing here. I don't know why
Oh my
some people don't want to
gosh.
share.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Oh, yeah, hurry.
Wait.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Cheese. Bismillah. I love it. Oh my god, where's cookie butter too? It's so good that I actually forget that we haven't told them what we're talking about.
This episode, we're going to be talking about racism. So if you actually watched us, maybe sometime at least about the year, we spoke about anti-blackness in Asian communities. And this time around, we're going to, I guess, localize it a little bit more and talk about Chinese privilege. Also delve deeper into our own experiences being brown people, part of the brown community, and talk about dating preferences and how to start conversations with your family about race and colorism as well, because that's something that happens really often. You don't even see because it's just so like embedded and imbibed in the things that we do.
Yeah.
Let's just start things like really simply. What was your first experience of Chinese privilege, or at least came to realize that Chinese privilege is a thing?
To be honest, right, growing up, I didn't think Chinese privilege was a thing. I thought that minorities can be racist towards like Chinese people, right? I think that's a common understanding, but this is because like growing up during our social studies, like they would just say like, oh, racism is a certain way, like, oh, when you have like disharmony and blah 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 blah. They never truly explained to us like what racism truly means, right? Thinking back now, my first experience with Chinese privilege has already begun. Like, one that I can truly remember was in primary school. My Malay teacher didn't come that day. So usually when this happens, you have to sit in your Chinese class. So then I was playing with my hair. I had longer hair back then, and then I was twirling it. And then one of my classmates actually like told the teacher that I was calling her crazy. But at that point of time, I didn't understand, like, what do you mean? I'm not calling you crazy. But you know, like, this, when you do this to someone last time in primary school, you say like, oh, you're crazy. But I didn't know that. As a child, I never knew that. And because they were conversing in Chinese, and like the Lao Shi was scolding me in Chinese, I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, I had to stand outside for no reason. And I'm like, oh my god, this would not have happened if she had just asked me in English and not assume all these things about me. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, what about you?
I think for me, it's a little bit different. I think I always, growing up, my parents always told me that I need to like study just as hard or mingle with Chinese kids because that's the only way I can get ahead of the curve. My dad used to remind me countless times, this was like when I was still in primary school, he would say, during his time when he wanted to get into university, only other races only 2% of other races will make up the quota. I'm not sure why it is for Malay, but because on our birth certificates and on our ICs and everything, we identify as Arab, so we were like challenging with like all the other people, and I always felt this sense of like nervousness of like having to be as smart or as good as my Chinese friends. And like it didn't click to me that it was because like all these things were like created, you know what I mean? Like I was just made to think that we were lesser, and that they were like more superior.
Definitely.
And it's just the way that I think for older generations as well, they don't really see it as privilege, because to them it's like, oh yeah, they're really hardworking, I really need to like catch up with them. Which, okay, like I'm not saying that Chinese people are not hardworking, I'm saying that like why is there like this sort of like relation, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because like growing up, especially during my time in secondary school or even in primary school, like my parents would say like, oh, don't hang out so much with Malay people because they're lazy and blah 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 blah. And if they want me to follow an example of someone, it's usually like my Chinese friends, as if like my Malay friends are not studying, because then studying is equally hard as anyone, and it's nothing to do with race, you know what I'm saying? But the fact that these kinds of ideations stems, do you want to try, man?
Oh yes, please.
Already is inbuilt in our families. It's just very problematic lah, right?
It's a different way of thinking it, right? And I guess it's because I think like you previously said, when we grew up, we had social studies, and there wasn't really a proper, I guess, definition of what racism is, in which the most common understanding is that if you call someone out, if you say like, oh, this person of a particular race is this and this, then that's racist regardless of like what you identify as. But they forget to mention that like there's already a structure in place where if we are the ones that are the minorities and I guess being discriminated against and being oppressed, then why is it racist if we call them out for the things that they do?
Yeah. And that's the thing though, I think the fact that people just refuse to acknowledge that they are racist. In order to solve any problem, right? It's good, right?
Just go.
It's good. Like, in order to solve any problem, first of all, you need to acknowledge the problem itself.
Yep.
Correct? I don't see a problem as to why you cannot say, yo, you know what, like the things I've said in the past have been racist. Please teach me how to stop being like this, you know?
Yeah.
Do the work instead of saying, no, I'm not racist, what?
You're racist.
I got a Malay friend, you know.
Yeah, like 100% do the work. And don't only depend on like minority friends. There's so many resources out there.
I feel like our Chinese friends cannot take it too personally that we are like, oh, like, wow, then y'all get the upper hand lah. Like everything also y'all win one. But that's not it, right? You don't see all our losses, right? Like for example, like when I apply for a job,
you don't get it because they want Chinese speaking people.
They want
Mandarin
Chinese
speaking. Sorry.
Yeah, and then you know, most of the time, like I've had this on job interviews, okay? They're like, oh, you're Malay, is it? Wow, but you were so punctual to this interview. I'm like, bitch, what? No, and okay, that's the thing. I always tell her that whenever I go for any interviews or any important meetings, I'm always there so freaking early because I don't want to have the impression that, oh, you're Malay, therefore, like, you know, you're gonna take things very lightly.
Just like to make things really clear that we're talking about racism in Singapore, because obviously if you were to apply this logic in Malaysia, then it's the opposite. So
completely different, right?
Likewise, like in the States, like this is the thing that really gets me is that my Chinese friends in Australia, they're just like, oh my god, like I've been so discriminated in Australia, I know what racism is like, this is true hardship, and then they go home and they do nothing. And then they use that as like a reasoning for every single thing. That's like when you call your friend out, like, oh, you know, that's kind of problematic, like you shouldn't say that, that's kind of racist. And it's like, no, but I experienced racism in Australia. And this is not it, fam. Like, who are you to tell us?
As an individual, you have your own struggles, right? And it's already hard enough to be like of a minority race. That's why we have these kinds of conversations. And like, I don't know if people know what being racist means, because there are so many forms of racism. You know, talking about in the level of intelligence, talking about lateness, talking about laziness, talking about accents. Okay, this one I can really clearly highlight because I've experienced it multiple times. People are like, "Oh, you're Malay. You don't sound Malay."
How do you expect Malay people to sound?
When do I have to have a Malay accent to be Malay? I'm like, come on, lah. If I was born in America and I have an American accent,
You're still gonna be Malay.
precisely, right?
Another thing as well, like you mentioned accents, you mentioned punctuality. Another thing that I want to bring up is colorism and just the idea of being of lighter skin or deeper skin tone. Like obviously, I can't speak for you, but for me, I feel like I am fair, I'm light skinned, and that provides me with a bunch of other privileges as well, that my deeper tone brothers and sisters will not have to face. But again, let's talk about this and bring it closer towards like our own communities and our own experiences and how this can help our other like minority friends who experience this as well.
Like this are all very problematic because it's so dangerous, right? Like to say and to have this perception of like darker skinned people are dangerous and all that. But like, come on.
Well, it's beautiful. Even then, like if you have someone, this is another phrase that I hear as well that I really dislike, because I know I've Indian friends who are deeper tone, and this really like affected the way they look at themselves. They look at themselves growing up. It's like, oh, like you're dark, so you should use this lotion or that lotion to make yourself fair. Or like, oh, you're dark, but you're really pretty, but what a shame, like your skin tone tak pala, hitam manis, and it's like,
I've heard that a lot of times.
And these are like aggressions that you won't think are aggressions because you think they're compliments, but it really affects the way people think about themselves
definitely.
and the standard of beauty.
It should not be okay.
Yeah.
And if you have like a friend from the minority race, and if you see someone saying these types of things, even when they are not around, stand up for them.
100%.
It doesn't matter. Like, if you are an ally, you are an ally regardless. You don't need to be only an ally around minority races. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're an ally regardless.
And I think one way as well, like I guess if I know that like when we talk about race between generations, it's always there's always this kind of gap that you have to bridge. I think like we spoke about earlier in the video as well with our parents, it's like it's not Chinese privilege, it's just you have to work hard. For us, like, oh no ma, like this was like a system that was created. Tell you the story.
I say.
We were at Tokyo Disneyland and my mom was saying something really racist about a bunch of other tourists as well. And I called her out for it. I was like, hey, you know, that's really racist. And she was like, I'm not racist. You have to like understand that these jokes, while are innocent in your friend group, they actually are not innocent. And she actually cried about it, and then I cried because I felt bad. We were like on a freaking like Disney ride, we were on an attraction ride, and I was just, we were spinning around, and I was just there in my seat crying.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so that's about it for this session. Again, thank you so much to our food sponsor, Novo Acai. Be sure to follow them on Instagram. Order their acai bowls from GrabFood, and you can get one of...
You have to flip it. That's right. Yep, you get one free bowl of acai.
Okay, yeah. So if you order your stuff, or if you order the acai on GrabFood, you get this card, and then you can present this card when you actually visit them when they officially open their store. I'm not too sure when, but yeah, just follow them on Instagram. And if you're not already subscribed to us, what are you doing? If you're not already following us on Instagram, follow us on Instagram. If you're not already...
Twitter! We made a new Twitter!
Follow us on Twitter. And one more thing, we've recently just opened up a new Patreon account. And if...
Please let me broke.
yeah, please let me broke. Yeah, so do buy and help us, because you know it will really help us in production and everything, in setup and all these video things. It takes time, but we do it because we
love it. We
love
love it.
it.
We really want to. I mean, obviously, we are self-funded. Like this whole thing that you're watching, even on Instagram and the content we put on our website, we're doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
We're like hustling.
Yeah,
So
it's
it would
very
mean a lot
important.
to
Yeah,
us.
so it's very important that you guys know that we are self-funded. We're not funded by anything. We have not taken on any grants or whatever. So all the
Unfortunately,
money that we have, not a lot, comes from our freelance checks and
Yeah.
yeah. So it'll be really helpful. And yeah, till our next podcast. Hope you're having a lovely day.
Skirt, skirt.